Hello and welcome to a VO's Journey podcast. My name is Anthony Pica, and this show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business and sidestep all of the crazy things that I seem to step on. This is episode number 166, and I am super excited to be answering a question from the Facebook group. If you haven't joined a VO's Journey Facebook group, well, first, I highly recommend it, but second, if you have, you know that I ask a few questions when in order for you to join, and one of them is, what's the most pressing question for your business? So one of our members, Matt, who recently joined, asked a question about the cattle call audition process, and that he knew my views on it, but he was wondering that because of that ridiculous process, do I think that the freelance market in VO is oversaturated? Okay, so I want to talk about that with you today, and let's dive in. Let's do it. This is VO's Journey. With your host, the incomparable Anthony Pica. All right, so first off again, Matt, thank you so much for the wonderful question, and I really appreciate you asking that because I think that's on a lot of people's minds, and I want to talk about it with you guys and tell you what I think. So, first off, the idea of a cattle call audition, and if you don't know what a cattle call audition is, that was basically a name that was given to acting auditions where you would have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of actors show up for a casting call, right? And basically you would be filed in one at a time in a room with a bunch of casting directors, producers, etc., and you'd be given a minute, 45 seconds, a minute and a half, and it would just be one right after another. And it was just this massive cattle call, just like when you go to, sell cattle or something, right? You just have all of these people in one place. And it became known also as very difficult, not very exciting, because it was like an all-day process, right? Like you'd wait literally, if you were one of the unfortunate ones, right? You'd literally wait hours and hours and hours all day to perform for like 1 minute. You know what I mean? And that was the audition. And a lot of times you'd go and you'd perform and there'd be like, they had just got done watching hundreds and hundreds of auditions, and you come in there, they've got to eat, they've got to do stuff, and they're on their phones. They might not even be paying attention to you. You know what I mean? They might have already got who they're looking for. They're looking for a very specific thing. You don't fit that, but yet you've spent all that time there waiting, and it's very laborious, right? It's very difficult to go through that process over and over and over again, and it's one of those things that actors know very well, and it kind of has turned into this stigma of negativity, not a very fun thing to do, to be a part of a cattle call audition. So, as you know, if you've listened to me, you know that I spout that my feelings towards pay-to-play sites, a lot of these feel like cattle call auditions. So basically, they send out an audition, right? You pay to be on these websites. They send out an audition via email, and you click on the link or whatever. You get there and you go to audition, and as you pull it up, you see that 50, 100, or 50 plus, 100 plus people have already auditioned. Okay. Or you see that, like on like Voice 123 or some of these places, they'll actually show you, how far down the list you are. Sometimes you're 1,700, you're 2,000, you're 2,100 down the list of people that have been sent this. All right. And people that have possibly auditioned. And this is the epitome of cattle call auditioning. And it's frustrating because what kind of chance do you have when you're going against hundreds and hundreds or thousands of people all the time? And on top of that, you've paid a great deal of money to go up against these kind of people. So it becomes a super, super challenge. And in that sense, right, that is extremely oversaturated in that one place. But now that we've kind of laid that out, I want to talk about, the market in general, and do I feel that things are oversaturated? So this might shock you, but yes, I do think there is a big saturation of voiceover artists, especially now more than ever, seeing as people are staying home, people are realizing that this industry is viable. Also, you have to consider too that, let's be realistic, AI and voice, voice modulation and manipulation is becoming more. I mean, it's still on the fringe, but you can feel it, right? It's coming. It's getting better and better. And the more we get hired by these people to talk and them record us, the better it will get. And I think what will happen is that it will start to weed out certain things, you know what I mean? But, I do think that it's not here yet, but it is still there on the horizon, and it's coming. It's coming, no doubt. So, and that probably should be a whole nother episode that we should talk about some things I think you could do to just really kind of protect yourself anyways, and things that I'm doing. But getting back up to this idea of the market being oversaturated, I think the idea of oversaturating gets this negativity around it, and I don't think it needs to be negative. You know what I mean? I think the idea of the market or the VO market, of a lot of VO voiceover artists in the market being oversaturated, like there's not enough work for all of us, I think that is not true. Okay? That is not true. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the reality is, and this is the reality, everybody. The reality is that if we were comparing apples to apples, meaning they, like you and I, both of us and every other voiceover artist, all right, apple to apple, voice to voice, business to business, customer service to customer services, if everything was the same, if there was no differentiating factors, right, which I'll go over in a second, but if none of those were different, then it would be very hard to be found, because there would be no way to stand out. But that's not the way it is. All right? That's not the way it is. Meaning that, if you go into a toy store and the toy store is packed full of stuff, but you want something very specific, you'll go find that specific thing no matter how packed the store is. Now, does that mean that there's not some people who are browsing in the toy store, and because there's so much to buy, they buy something and they don't get to you? Okay, maybe that's true. But there are going to be people who are looking exactly for you, and if they can find you, they will work with you. So that leads us to the big part about this, is that because there is an oversaturation in the market, that means that you have to just be a little bit better than most everyone else. And let me tell you what you need to be a little bit better at, because I think this will maybe shock you. Well, it won't if you listen to me. What you need to be better at is actually getting in front of people. Getting in front of eyeballs. Listen, we work on the internet. I mean, that's our business. I mean, yes, there was a time, and I think now more than ever, right? There was a time in the past where people went into studios, and they will open back up, and some people will continue to work in studios. But if anything, 2020 has brought us to the idea that we are all going to just be, this is the place that it's already been. It's going is the home studio. We're going to be working from home. And because of that, do you know what I mean? This is the place where we make our stand. Okay, so listen, so that's a very important aspect to think about, because since we are not doing face-to-face work, we're doing over the internet, you have got to get eyeballs. You have got to get in front of people. There is a whole world out there. We are not limited to any geographic location because the internet is open to the world, so we can be in front of anyone at any time. However, that's where the challenge comes in, right? You and I are not created equal when it comes to this, right? How good am I at getting in front of more people than you? right? How good am I? How good are you? Are you better at it than I am? Are you better at enticing people to work with me than I am to work with, or than you are to work with you? You know, like, you know what I'm saying? I meant I'm enticing people to work with me and you're enticing people to work with you. Does that make sense? Like, what leverage are you using? What websites are you on? Have you built your own website? Are you putting out content more than I am? Are you doing everything you can to get in front of people? This is the challenge that we face. Now, do you have to be good at this? Of course you do. But here's the thing, right? I mean, the reality is all of us have a unique voice. If that was the determining factor between us being successful, everyone who got into this business would be successful. But it's not, right? Because everyone has a unique voice. Everybody's voice is different. Whether it's fun to listen to or not, it's all different. So having a unique voice is not the determining factor. All right. Now, you might have those outliers that were like, oh, wow, look, that guy's voice is so amazing. But again, even with that guy or that gal and their voice, they had to be found. So that is a determining factor, not your voice, how you are found, how much you are found, how many people are you getting in front of on a regular basis? Are people seeing you? Okay, are you popping up in their feeds? Are you popping up on websites where they're actively looking for work? Okay, they're actively looking for voiceover artists. Okay, that's a big deal, you guys. And if you're not doing that, then yes, the market is going to be oversaturated for you. However, if you are doing that, guess what? The market is not being oversaturated. See, you got to think about it from the other standpoint, right? From the customer, right? A customer goes on, think about yourself. You go on somewhere and you're like, man, how am I going to find something, right? You need something. You need a service. You need something. So you go into Google, you type in what you need. Okay, right there. That's your first thing that you've got to realize. People are searching for these services. They're searching for products. They're searching for services. And when they search for them, like online, on Google, okay, we have got to work our hardest to make sure that there is less of a moat, if you will, like less of a lake, a river, whatever you want to call it, in between how many steps the person who is looking for our service has to take before they get to us. If you can eliminate more steps than the other guy, you will win every time, no matter how saturated this market is. But most people aren't thinking about that. Most people are only focusing on how good their audio is, how talented they are as actors, how much. Now, is that important? Of course, and I'm not downplaying that. But again, you could be the most talented person in the world, and if no one ever listens to you, it's not going to make one hill of a beans or whatever you want to say. So you've got to put the effort into closing that gap between how many steps people take when they type in that search, okay, till they get to you. Okay, now you might say, well, what does that entail? Well, that's where you running a business, and dare I say a marketing business, comes into play. And this is where the acting community has failed. I'll be honest with you. This is where the acting community, I'm not just talking about voice actors, I'm talking about actors in general. This is where they failed. This is why there was the whole invention of a producer, right? A person who has money, who has business acumen, right? Because the idea of, an actor also having that business acumen. Now, you see it more and more in Hollywood, right? Where these actors are producing, these famous actors, they produce their own films, okay? Because they can pay for them. But that's the idea, right? The idea here is, can you be just as good or better at running a successful business than you are at just doing a voiceover? And if you can do that, the market is not oversaturated. I think that's a really good point, actually, because now that I'm saying this, think about it this way. It's what part of the market is oversaturated? if there are a bunch of freelance voiceover artists in the world, if you added them up, could you say that that's oversaturated? Sure. Just look at voices.com or Voice123 and all those people on those sites vying for business, you'd say it's oversaturated. However, the amount of people who are being put, or the amount of voice actors who are getting in front of people on a consistent basis, that's not oversaturated. In fact, that is way undersaturated. Okay? So that should be your main focus and your main goal, is to how do I get in front of people? Now, you might think, man, I didn't get into this to have to worry about, getting in front of people and doing all this marketing and all this stuff. And, that's fair enough to say. But I'm going to be the bearer of bad news. You will fail in this business unless you are able to get business. And the way to get business is to get in front of more eyeballs. And the way to get in front of more eyeballs is to do all the things that we've talked about on this podcast and the videos and blogs and everything, which I will continue to talk about. Being on social media, being on at least 10 to 20 different casting websites, freelance websites. Yes, you could be on pay-to-play websites. Okay, I get business on some pay-to-play websites. All right, you email, phone calls, right? Your own website, Google Ads. Okay, being when someone types in voice actor, okay, if you pop up in the top row, you're gonna. Now, is it hard to get up there? Of course, it's the hardest to get there because sites like Fiverr, like Voices.com are paying loads of money to be up there at the top, and the likelihood that you and I can pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a month to do that is very slim. But we can still get ourselves in there with lots of different places, like being on all these websites, like being everywhere, as many places as we can be. Okay? You will be found, but your job is to be better than the majority of the other people out there at getting in front of people. And if you can do that, then I guarantee you the market will never be oversaturated for you. It will never be oversaturated. You will be living in so much abundance that it's just going to be a party every single day. And you're going to be like, I don't understand why people are complaining so much. There's so much business out there. I can't keep up with it all. Okay? So, Matt, I hope that helps you. And I hope that it gives you maybe a different perspective and a different look at what, thinking of saturation in the VO market, which part of the market are you considering, right? And are you looking at as being oversaturated? And the part of the market that I would consider is very undersaturated, and I don't know if it will ever be oversaturated. And that's voiceover artists who really run a great business, who know how to run a great marketing business. I guarantee you that is completely undersaturated and will continue to be for a long time. All right, you guys, I hope this podcast has helped. It was wonderful talking to you as always. Sorry for the amount of time it's taken to get back on there. I should be ashamed of myself, and I am ashamed. But I will continue to endeavor to get more going as always, as I'm trying to always put up videos and so forth. So thank you as always for following this podcast. I wish you the best and have a great and safe week. Peace.